onto the group later. Because there's always people who want to attend but can't attend, and so we always post the videos on the Facebook group later so people can watch them back. Yeah, so hello everybody. Hello Ibinabo, thank you so much for your time, for coming to chat to us. Yeah, obviously we'd spoken about kind of how to structure this. I think if you just sort of give us a little bit of, you know, a chat about who you are, what you're doing, what your journey was, and then I guess we'll just have a conversation, because there's not so many people here that I would say like put your questions in the chat or something. I think if we just, once Ibinabo kind of opens it up, if we just all unmute ourselves and we just make it a chat, I think that might be nicer.
Yeah, cool.
All right, cool. So I'm going to put myself on mute as well, and I'll hand over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ibinabo Jack. I'm a singer and actor. A little bit about myself. So I had a bit of an unconventional route in like the performing world. So I actually did my first job before I went to drama school, which is weird. So I'm from Manchester, and Pippa Alien, the casting director, was auditioning for The Lion King, the original West End production. I think I was about 17, and I got right down to the finals for the role of Nala, and I didn't get it. But then this is like way back in the day when I think people were just getting mobiles, and she kind of kept my number. And then when The Lion King was opening in Paris, she gave me a call and invited me to audition. And this is a really funny story. So actually, I was doing some Amdram gig thing over the weekend up in Blackpool. So when the audition material came through on the Friday, I didn't see it. I got home on the Sunday evening, had this like audition pack of, and it was before people didn't email, like very few people had email addresses. So it was an actual physical pack of sheet music and scenes and a CD that I could listen to like the tracks. And I had to just prepare this overnight and then get a train down to London the next morning, because my audition was at like 1:30 or something. I was like, So I remember just getting in at like midnight or 1 a.m. and just cramming in my box room that I shared with my big sister, cramming all this stuff. And luckily it was similar to what I'd done for the West End ones. And got on the train. I think I borrowed some money off my brother, got on the train, went to London, did the audition, and it was awful. It was awful. I was underprepared. My voice was shot from doing the gigs on the weekend. And they said at the beginning, oh yeah, so this is the first round and recalls will be on Wednesday. I was like, cool, did the audition, went back up to Wigan, then did my normal like muggle job on the Tuesday. I was working in Selfridges in Manchester, and I was like literally checking my phone every 2 seconds, like, I've got a recall. My shift finished at 7, like definitely didn't have a recall. But then I don't know what possessed me. I rang Pippa Alien's mobile at like 9 p.m. once I got home, and I was like, look, Pippa, obviously it's Tuesday night and recalls tomorrow, so I haven't got a recall, but I will be perfect for this role, so I'm coming to the recalls tomorrow. Didn't hear anything back from her, borrowed 40 quid off my brother, jumped on the first off-peak train to London. And obviously I know now, I've been in the biz for a while, that they can change audition locations from like day to day, week to week. But I didn't know any of that, so I just went to the same location that I'd been to on Monday. And I got there and they were all leaving for lunch. And I was like, and then Pippa said to me, oh, we're being above, I got your voicemail. We're just going to lunch. So you have a hot chocolate and we'll see you after. And they kind of squeezed me in afterwards. And I think 3 days later, I got the job. And about a week later, I was in Paris. And I was there for 2 years. And I originated the role of Nala in The Lion King, which is weird. Then I went to Mountview. So with the whole Mountview thing as well, the day that I signed my contract at Disney, I rang my mum to be like, yeah, it's all done now. Like I'm doing it. I got to Paris safely, whatever. And she was like, oh, you got a letter from Mountview. And I was like, open it. Because I'd just auditioned for it about a month earlier. And she's like, yeah, you've got in and you've got a dada. And I was like, I can't go. So I had to defer for a year, lost my scholarship. But then I loved it so much in Paris that I stayed for a second year. So then when I eventually went to Mountview in 2006, I had to re-audition like brand new. And then that was that, yeah. So I did my 3 years. I got a first, which I was really proud of myself. I did musical theatre. And then I was lucky. I got straight in. I think we finished in April 2009, and then I started in Legally Blonde in September, I think it was, or the end of October. Yeah, just weird. And then it's kind of just gone from there. And I did The Color Purple, I think was next. And then I did Porgy and Bess at Royal Danish Opera, which was incredible. Then I went back up north because the plan was then to try and get into TV. I think realistically, the plan was always to get into TV, but I didn't know the avenue. So I said to myself, I'll go to Mountview and I'll do musical theatre so I can kind of tick off singing, acting and dances boxes, because I'd never done a dance class, a singing class, a drama class ever. So I was mega naive, but I don't know, there was a weird sort of tenacity and a self-belief. So I went off up to Manchester. Media City had just opened up north. So I was like, cool, like I'll get into TV. I got into musical theatre, fine. I'll just get into TV. And that did not happen at all. I didn't have a clue. Then I did Little Shop of Horrors at the Royal Exchange up there. I did a couple of commercials, and then inevitably ended up going back to London because I got The Bodyguard, which was the UK tour, and then Town, and then I booked Dreamgirls, and I literally booked those two jobs within 6 minutes of each other. And I remember it was on Thanksgiving in 2015, and I'd been going to auditions back and forth. And I think it'd been about 18 months I've been up north trying to chase like the TV dream, and it wasn't happening. So I was like, okay, I'll audition for musical theatre again, but I don't really want to do it anymore. Like I want my evenings and my weekends back. But then, yeah, did Bodyguard for 6 months, and then straight into Dreamgirls. There was like a 2-week overlap, which was horrendous. Like doing Dreamgirls rehearsals in the day and then doing the Bodyguard at night, which was horrible. But yeah, so I was lucky, originated the role of Laurel Robinson in Dreamgirls, which I won a Broadway World Award for Best Supporting Actress in a new musical. And then I was like, nope, I don't want to do musical theatre anymore. Like done. I've had enough. I'm 34 now and I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore. Said to my agent, right, let's just focus on TV. Don't want to do any more theatre auditions. So this was in March 2017. So I'd had a decent run. I'd done like 8 years at this point of just straight MT, and it was fine. And then, and I guess Dreamgirls, playing Laurel in Dreamgirls was an absolute like career highlight, and it was a goal. I remember writing in my yearbook that I wanted to be in Dreamgirls and The Color Purple, and thinking, but these shows will never come to London, so it's just a dream. So I couldn't believe when I got cast in both. So then, yeah, so March 2017, I left Dreamgirls. And then that was it. I was like, I just want to do TV. So then I took myself to the Actors Centre and Actors Guild and loads of online stuff. And I was just focusing on screen acting. And then I remember, I think I was signing on. I was signing on for Universal Credit as well, because I wasn't making any money. So I remember to fulfill that, I had to do like courses. So I remember doing like an IT course that I wasn't interested in, but I just thought, just to keep them off my back, I'll do this IT course. So I was doing that in Stratford, like hating my life, but just doing it. And then my agent rings me, and I'm not supposed to have my phone on me. So it's like proper going off. I'm like, oh, my agent rings me. She's like, you up for a challenge? And I was like, yeah, always. And then she's like, I've got a self-tape for you for Vera on ITV. And I was like, yeah, I've heard of that. I've watched it a few times. Cool. And she's like, well, we're not going to get this one because it's for a series regular and it's a brand new character, but it's great that they're even seeing you for it. And just to kind of get your self-taping technique up to scratch. I was like, yeah, cool. So I remember it was about 20 past 11, I think it was. I just started the course. I think we started at 11, and I had to then just leave. And I've never done this in my life, but I had to then do that awful thing of posting on Facebook, is anyone allowed to help me with self-tape? Because I was just like, I need someone to actually help me. And funnily enough, it was Tom. It was Tom. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Yeah, Tom Sawyer, who I've known for years beforehand. We used to do front of house. He was box office, I was front of house in a theatre, like a fringe theatre in the West End. And just, I mean, the stars just aligned. He was like, yeah, cool. And he was like, I actually teach like acting for camera. I was like, get lost. And I was like, what are the chances? And he was like, yeah, but I live in East London. And I was like, so do I. Oh my God. And I was like, okay, this is okay, cool. Got all my stuff together, jumped in the cab, went to Tom's. And I mean, I swear to God, he got me that job, because I would have done a self-tape that would have been awful. But he was so, so great in, you know, being someone to act off. He gave me loads of direction, loads of pointers about eyeline and pace, and like, you know, taking my time and thinking. And because I'd just finished doing Dreamgirls, which was massive, just learning to kind of make everything smaller for the screen and being really subtle. So I did that. When was this then? Would have been early June. So 3 months after I'd left Dreamgirls. And then like a week later, I'm reading for auditions at this point as well. So Pippa's then called me in to read for, I think it was Tina Turner musical and also Come From Away, which was great to be on the other side of things and like reading in for people's auditions. And my phone goes off and I'm like, oh, sorry, but I've got to take this. And I don't know, I ignored it because I was in an audition. Then my agent emailed me saying like, answer your phone. So I nipped out and I was like, hello. And she just went, why, man? And I went, fuck off. And then she went, you fuck off. And I was like, no way. And then so then I booked that job. And then I think about 4 days later, I was up in Newcastle getting costume together and kind of building this character. Then a week later, I'm on set. My first ever scene is with Brenda Blethyn in her famous Land Rover on Vera. And I'm projecting like nobody's business, literally in a tiny space. And I'm going, I can't believe we didn't have any evidence on this. And she's like, you don't need to shout. You said, you've got a microphone on. She went, literally just whisper. If anything, be too quiet. Then the boom can pick you up and the mic can pick you up. So then I was shaking like a leaf. I messed up my lines loads, and it's actually in the final take because I messed it up so many times that they just kept it because they ran out of time. But yeah, that's how I started off. So I've been doing Vera now for 3 years. Unfortunately, this would have been my 4th year, but obviously with COVID and lockdown, we haven't resumed filming at all for series 11. So yeah, then since Vera, I've done little bits and bobs like guest appearances in Hollyoaks and this new comedy show that Martin Clunes was heading called Warren on BBC Two, and I did a semi-series regular on Doctors. That was 6 episodes. And I'm lucky as well, I've managed to do bits of theatre as well, and a couple of commercials, and a bit of radio as well. So it's been really varied. And the original plan was just to be a screen actor, and it's still my dream when I was like 7, and it's still my dream now, is to be a Bond girl, but I want to be a baddie. And like that has always, and I'm like proper working towards that, being a bad girl in a Bond film. But yeah, I mean, when lockdown kind of took place, I was in a play at Shepherd's Bush called The High Table. And we were meant to go to Birmingham Rec with that for 3 weeks. And obviously that didn't happen. So for the last, God, how long has it been now? 4 months. Loads of self-tapes, loads of sitting on my ass, if I'm honest, trying to write scripts and trying to, you know, be productive and all that sort of stuff. And I've actually found out yesterday that I've just booked a sketch show for CBBC, which is cool, like something really different. So yeah, I guess I have been super lucky, which I'm a bit funny with luck, because I do believe that it is hard work behind the scenes, and I guess it looks like luck. But one of my favorite quotes is, and I really hope that it wasn't Kat Dealer that came up with this, but it's her name that I saw on the internet, and it's success comes when preparation meets opportunity. And I love that. So that's kind of like my motto and my little slogan. So yeah, that's me.
Wow, what a story. First of all, apologies for mispronouncing your name, Ibinabo.
Oh no, don't be daft.
I think it was Tom who said Ibinabo, so it was his fault.
I mean, I've known him for how many years? 12 years, but
Yeah, I mean, that's Tom. Wow, I mean, how ballsy is that to just turn up to that recall and be like, no, actually, I'm perfect for this role. And at 17, kudos.
And I would not recommend doing that.
No.
Now, in the age of social media and mobile phones, absolutely not.
No, yeah, definitely not. But I've heard stories like that from a lot of people kind of like, 10, 15 years ago, who just kind of showed up to auditions and were just like, I'm gonna do this, and they got the part. So
Yeah.
sometimes that kind of ballsiness pays off. But so you said you'd never had a singing lesson when you booked The Lion King.
No, singing, dancing, or acting. I literally gone from doing GCSEs. I did music and drama GCSE, then going on to A level where I did performing arts. And performing arts was my only kind of performing-y thing. I had to kind of appease my parents who were a doctor and a nurse. So I was like, okay, I studied psychology, combined English. And what else did I do? I can't remember what else I did. But yeah, so I was kind of like, I'm just doing this as a hobby, not thinking it'd go any further. Whereas a load of my friends had proper been dancing since they were 3, singing lessons since they were 7, but I didn't even know that was like a thing.
Right.
I just enjoyed singing. So when auditions came through, I was like, well, yeah, I can sing along. And this is back in the day when you had to bring your own backing tracks to auditions, like on tape or CD. I remember my first ever audition, I think it was for Rent in the West End. This is like 1998, 99, and having to bring my own CD of a backing track to sing along to. So cringe, so cringe.
Hilarious. Wow.
And like no one knew how to cut stuff then, so you just have to sit there with this really long intro and do a bit of a two-step while it's playing.
Brilliant. Oh my God. That's so funny. But so did you only audition for Mountain View or other schools as well?
Just Mountain View. So yeah, this is a bit of a weird one as well. So again, I knew nothing about this. There was a girl in a year above me at the college I went to, Winstanley College in Wigan, who she kind of stayed in doing her A-levels for a third year because she didn't get into any drama schools. So she was then like, I'm going to really focus in on, doing a third year and, getting my techniques up. And she ended up getting into every school that she auditioned for the second year she applied, but she ended up going to Mountain View. So Mountain View was the only drama school that I'd heard of. So I didn't know that you had to apply to loads of different places. So all I heard was that, oh, Kelly's going to Mountain View. And I was like, what's Mountain View? What's a drama school? Okay, cool. So then the next year, when I was having to apply, I was like, I'll just apply to Mountain View. Like Kelly went there, she's from Wigan. I'll do the same thing. And it was only when I got in that people were saying to me, like, where else did you apply for? And I was like, nowhere. Like, people had applied to loads of places. I just didn't know, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked out.
And it didn't occur to you that, like, if you wanted to do TV, that maybe a musical theatre course was not the right fit in a sense, that, like, you just were like, it's a drama school, I'm just going to do this?
Yeah, I think more than anything, I was aware, I can't remember what it was in particular, but there was shows on, like things like Ally McBeal, for instance, where it kind of incorporated a bit of everything. And I remember like being a huge fan of that show and thinking, okay, if I'm going to do screen acting, then I should probably like learn how to do like singing and dancing as well, in case a role comes up and I have to sing. I don't want to be like, oh no, I never trained in this. And I kind of figured that, I mean, I was so naive, because even then, obviously like Phil and Jonathan, I didn't know that there was a TV course at Mountain View at all. So I didn't even know that that was a viable option for me. I just naively thought, I'll study all 3 so that later on I can kind of draw on all 3. And yeah, I didn't know there was even film schools or straight acting. I just did not know. I never heard of RADA.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. And did you graduate with an agent?
Yes. I'm going to do a bit of a brag now. I got 52 agent offers, which was ridiculous. But again, I thought it was normal. After Showcase, my CVs ran out, and Yvonne, who used to run the development course, was kind of like, oh, you need to replenish your CVs. And I was like, okay. Da-da-da. And then everyone was kind of getting calls back and forth. And I couldn't go to all the like meetings or whatever. I think I ended up meeting with 22 of them. But in total, it was 52 offers. I mean, I don't even know 52 agents or agencies.
I know.
But yeah, so I think I just knew with my agent, because again, the reason why I signed with my agent was out of the other 21 that I'd met with, they were all going, I was like, well, I want to get into TV. And they were like, you've done musical theatre. There's no way you'd even be seen for TV stuff. And I can't help you with that. And I was like, well, surely that's your job. Like you've seen from my Showcase that I can act. So, and my agent was the first one that was like, yeah, you're a great actor. You can do theatre, you can do screen. Cool. So she was the first one that kind of believed in me, and I guess was bothered to invest in that
And that was CAM straight away, or was that
Yes.
different? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been with them ever since.
11 years. God, yeah. God.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, sorry, I've just asked my questions that
Oh,
I was
no.
like, oh, I want to get. By the way, I think I actually saw you in Dreamgirls. Did you? How long did you stay?
So I was there so we opened in November and I left in March.
Maybe not then. I don't remember whether it was you. I just remember that I thought the actress playing your part was insane. So
Probably me then. No, I'm joking.
probably
I'm
you.
joking. I'm joking.
No, because it's such a like I don't know whether all of you know Dreamgirls, but like it's such a part where like at the beginning you could think, oh, it's like a small supporting part, but then at some points she just like rips the stage apart, and it's just like, oh my god, this part is insane because she's funny and she sings like a goddess, and like yeah. So I just remember that part really standing out for me. And then when I did a bit of research on you and was like, oh, of course you played that one.
Ah,
So I
yeah.
don't know whether I saw you or the one after you, but yeah. If you all just want to unmute yourselves and just ask whatever you want to ask.
Tumbleweed.
I'll go. I just want to say congratulations. Your story is just made me beam. It's never heard a story like it. That you had the I'm going to say the audacity to go and tell them that you're
question, Avino, hello.
Oh, we're getting overlap.
Oh, I think we've got Philip
I
is
think
frozen.
Phil's frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Carry
Just
on.
saying, you had your audacity to go and tell them that you're going to be in this play and film play. I think it's absolutely great. I think that's a northern thing because I'm from the north originally. I think we're just very forward, too much forward sometimes. But most of the questions you've answered anyway. I was going to ask you, how did you transition from theatre to TV? But you've already mentioned it. But your story is great, and I like the way you said when you were on set and she said that you don't need to shout, because that's what people say to me. You don't have to shout. There's a microphone and everything. It's just like, calm down, just step back. And my son keeps my mum, step back, just speak normally. Speak normally. Don't do it. But thank you. It's great sharing your experience. And I did see Dreamgirls. And I took my husband, he goes to me, he goes, wake me up when it's all over. But he was glued, he was fixed. Because he'd never been to the theatre and he thought, oh, it's going to be boring. But he was actually fixed. And now we go regular. Do you know what I mean? So it's just great. And he was like, oh my God, it's really fantastic. It showed him a different world, showed him my world.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Phil, sorry, I think you froze then when you started asking.
Yeah, I was having a Wi-Fi issue on my back. Can you hear me? Is everything okay? Yes. It's all good. Okay, Ibinabo, hello again. So, what I'm curious about is, given that, no amount of training is going to prepare you for the actual experience, especially when it comes to TV, because as an experience, it's something that you very rarely get a proper experience of it until you're actually doing it. Mm-hmm. So how long did it take you on Vera to enjoy that experience, to understand how it all worked, the routine, how it was different to what you've been doing before? At what point did you get comfortable and start thinking, well, this is a really interesting medium?
Good question. So I'd say, again, I'm lucky with Vera in that they're feature-length episodes. So we spend a month filming one episode. So I really, in that first month, doing my first episode, I was just literally like a rabbit in the headlights. Like everything was so new. But then by the third episode, I was kind of like, okay, cool, this is what we do now. So it was like, I was very interested in all the behind the scenes stuff. Like I was always chatting to the sound guys and like lighting and the props department, just kind of finding out how everyone kind of works together. And you get like a little call sheet every day that kind of, it's a break, I guess it breaks down what you're going to be doing for that day, usually between 7 and 7. And I'd always look and see who was doing what. And if I had any gaps, I'd take myself off and go and chat to a different department to try and find out like how things work. Because you don't know, because it was literally thrown in. It's so fast paced as well, kind of just getting everything done, especially with Vera, in that there's only 6 of us that are series regulars. So everybody else is a guest actor, like on every episode. So there's a dead body, then there's a whole family, whodunits, all that sort of stuff. So for me, it was kind of just, I'm a geek. So I'm very, very interested in just learning stuff. And I hate it when I'm doing something and I'm blagging it. I always like to know exactly what I should be doing and why that's important, especially with TV, because you can blag it to a degree. You can, the camera's so close to you that you can kind of get away with so much. Your hands can be doing something completely different if you're just framed here. So I was very interested in just how you're lit. And every time they were like, okay, turning around, they're doing a different angle. I go and speak to the DOP, okay, what shot are we going for? And why do we need that shot? And why is that important? And how is that going to play into what we've already covered and blah, blah, blah. So I think, yeah, just that, I guess I've always had a real hunger just to be a bit of a know-it-all and just to know all aspects of what I'm doing and not just be focused on me as an actor, because I guess it's all part and parcel of the job.
Yeah. And is it something that you feel as if you're learning new stuff all the time, or is it, have you got to a point where you're kind of going, okay, no, I can coast it in a good way because I pretty much know how the whole thing works?
Yes and no. So there's a degree where I'm kind of like, I know the setup now. I know when I get on, we do a camera rehearsal, we do lighting, we do kind of setups, great. But every director's different. So again, I'm lucky on Vera, we have different director every episode, different DOPs. Pretty much it's only the sound and lighting that stay the same. So in terms of like getting to know how certain directors work, there was one director, Rob, who was just a machine. He slept between 2 and 5, just 3 hours a night. That was it. And he was proper. He knew exactly every single shot that he wanted. So you got on set and you were like, blah, 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 blah. And we were finishing like half days pretty much every day. And the execs were like fuming because they were like, we're paying people for full days and they're only doing half days. But I was like, this guy just knew exactly what he wanted. So adapting to that, like obviously different techniques and styles. And I'm about to go into doing comedy now, which I've not really done on screen. So like working out how I can push those boundaries. And yeah, so there's always something different to learn. I've worked with the same director 3 times on Vera, and it has been different every time because it's different actors and it's different story. Yeah, different locations, which is another factor.
Are you just very, very briefly, are you getting any kind of rehearsal period before you start shooting? Is the director taking everybody aside and giving them a moment to work something out for themselves to the point where the cameras are being placed around what you're doing, or does it have to be a lot more formal? Are you told where to go because they've already done a camera setup and you're having to fit yourself into the camera setup? That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a bit of both. So when we first get on set, we just do a line run just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Obviously, if there's been greens and pink sheets that have had edits on them, make sure that everyone's reading from the same script. And that's just, we just sit back, people are drinking brews, whatever, just a line run. Then so Rob knew exactly where he wanted people to be visually, and his episode is stunning. Whereas other directors are kind of like, you've been doing this for years, so just, if you're usually going to be at your desk on your computer, then just be there. Or if you're usually going to be up on the board. So it depends, like scene to scene, day to day. Some of them are very clear for certain scenes if they want to create a certain aesthetic, whereas others like it to be more natural. There's one director actually, Della Thomas, who just wanted everything to be really busy. And we were a bit like, But again, her episode's amazing. It looks amazing. It looks really natural. And we were kind of like, why am I just walking over here for no reason? And why is this like SA chatting to me for no reason? But then you watch it back and you're like, yeah, she knew what she was doing. So it's just kind of, just going with the flow. And yeah, every director's different. And
I've got too many questions, but are you watching yourself back in each episode because you're thinking, if I'm looking at what I've done, I'll be able to figure more stuff out? Or are you the kind of actor who's kind of going, I don't want to see this because I'll start overthinking it?
I don't overthink it. It's weird when I watch myself on TV, because I've done theatre for so long and I never got the opportunity. It doesn't feel like it's me. So I'll remember shooting it, but it was so like months and months ago. So I'll be watching it going, oh yeah, I remember doing that, but I forget that I'm watching myself. And the character's very different to me as well. So that's a really good question, but it's really weird.
But are you ever watching yourself back and thinking, oh, I could have done that better, or I did really well on that?
Some things that I'm literally like, I'm blagging that. There's one time I had to get kicked in the face, and I just did major stage acting. And I was like, I wouldn't do that in real life. And I look back and I cringe so hard at that. But that's the one, and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Or why are my eyes so busy? And why why don't I just say it? Why am I sometimes I perform my lines. If it's a line that I wouldn't say, like even if it's just the wording, I'm kind of like, then I feel like I just have to present the line as opposed to just saying it. So definitely, I rip myself to shreds, like absolutely, when I watch myself back. Because there's always stuff that I know I could have done better. But then on the flip side, there's stuff that I'm like, mate, I'm well good on that bit. Like I surprise myself sometimes and those are the times that I just did it, that I didn't kind of overanalyze it on set.
That's interesting, yeah.
How far in advance do you get the script?
Sometimes like the day before.
Wow, yeah.
Vera's kind of bad for that because it's different writers, every episode, different directors, different everything. And often we need to be careful that we don't reflect what's going on in the current climate. So there was an episode that had a murder that was to do, I can't remember what it was, a couple of years ago. And it seemed very similar to something that was happening in the news. So they had to do a massive rewrite. So we have to be cautious about things like that. I've had it once where I got the script through on the Thursday originally, read it, kind of made myself familiar with my lines. Then on the Saturday evening, even we meant to start filming on the Monday morning, Saturday evening had pretty much a new script. Wow. So, I think, and soaps are even worse for that. Soaps can literally change on the day. You're doing a whole different scene. We've changed your whole storyline just because it's so current, and you need to just be careful that you're not stepping on people's toes and you're not offending people.
Yeah. Have you got a line learning approach that accommodates something like that? That very, very quick turnover, which would freak me out completely because line learning takes so long for me. So how do you do it, Ibinabo? Tell me now.
There's an app called Line Learner that I've used for donkeys now. I started it when I first was auditioning for TV and film. And I mean, I don't even use it to its full capacity. There's loads of different features that I don't use, but it's amazing. And if I have a change that's significant, I'll record my lines and I'll just play it on loop, and I'll have a bath, or I'll do the laundry, or I'll do some cleaning, and I just have to learn it parrot fashion just so I know the new structure. Honestly, yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah, I was. So you just mentioned how on a soap, like the turnaround is even quicker. I was actually going to ask sort of what is like the major differences that you can sort of point out between something like Vera and something like Hollyoaks or Doctors, just like in the way, the pace at which it's shot, and kind of the way how differently the sets work.
Yeah, I think with soaps it's just a lot pacier, and they've got to think like months in advance for where the story's going to end up. So they're less bothered, if I'm honest, about the acting. They're just kind of worried about pushing the story, the narrative. So on Doctors, they've got 5 separate units that work simultaneously. So one actor, if you're a series regular on that, you can be doing potentially 3 different units on one day, and your storylines can be months ahead of each other, which is, for me, is just an absolute brain fuck. I couldn't do that. So one of the actors that we were working with, she's like a nurse in it. So she was doing our storyline, and then she was on the same day and in the same week doing 2 separate storylines that were weeks ahead or behind each other. And just having to keep on top of it herself and be like, in this scene, I don't know this yet. And in this one, I do know that, but I don't know that yet. No thanks.
Wow. Mary, did you have a question?
Yeah. I was just going to say, sorry, frog in my throat. Great story. Thank you very much for your telling us. But I was just wondering, you said when you got Vera, it was a very quick turnaround, and it was you worked for a few days on developing the character. And I was just wondering how much of the character was already developed, and how much did you have an input into that? Because obviously it's based on books by Anne Cleve, isn't it? So she's got the characters, but yeah, I just wondered how much you have, and ongoing as well, when they're writing an episode, how much do you have any sort of input into the way things are written, or I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, cool, thank you. So for this particular character, it was only such a quick turnaround because originally they wanted the character to be male. So there was 3 execs, and I remember when I got the audition, it said Ashley Tomlinson was the character's name, who then went by Ash. Then I think the one female exec was like, they couldn't choose between these 2 guys, and she was like, well, let's just open it out to women then, just flippantly. So then they did, and then a bunch of us girls came in to audition, still as Ashley. On my first day of filming, my character was still called Ashley. And then they decided, let's change the name then to Jacqueline, but goes by Jack, which is obviously confusing because my last name's Jack. And that was but that was Brenda, because Brenda's dog's called Jack. And then she was like, I want to name a new character after my dog. So then we were like, okay, cool. So then that's why it was Jack. And she didn't know that I was going to get cast and my last name was Jack. So that is confusing on set. But in terms of character, a lot of it is down to, I guess, me. So in the audition, with the help of Tom, the incredible Tom Sawyer, he kind of gave me stuff to really focus on based on what was in the text and in the script. And for the most part, it is just me. It is, yeah, it's kind of, I guess, whatever I kind of had in the room, they've kind of drawn on. So in terms of, like, I remember even my costume, what I wore on that day, they've based my costumes for the character on what I wore to the audition, which is weird. But for the first episode, I didn't get much say in terms of like lines or script or whatever, but then subsequent ones, I'm very much like, well, no, my character wouldn't say that, because we've already established in episode 4 of series 9 that she is into quad bikes. So she wouldn't then be like, oh, I know nothing about bikes, because we know that she was. So there's little things like that. Again, it's different writers. Brenda's really good at kind of knowing who should say what and why. So we often get there on the morning and Brenda's like, right, I've got some rewrites. And she's just written it herself. She did it in shorthand as well, which I don't read shorthand. And she would have written all the rewrites in shorthand. And she's very good at, knowing what character would say that based on what little hints from stories, lines in the past.
I think that's interesting, isn't it? Because you're the continuity, effectively. The regular characters, the continuity, and the directors and the writers change. So you've got your eye on that as well, which is that's great.
Contained, and just know, even like little things. There's been little hints about familial ties and who's engaged and who's got partners and who's got kids, and we have to kind of remember them for ourselves because they won't be written in.
Yeah.
Some of for Vera, they just take submissions as well sometimes from like just random writers, and it can be a great storyline, but they don't know our characters. So then we're kind of like, oh, can I change it then to say that I have to mention my partner, or I have to mention that I've got to go home to see the baby or something? So all those little tweaks that make it our own. And a big thing for me, which I didn't know when I first started, was sentence structure. There's certain things that as a Northerner, I would place the semantics of a sentence in a certain way, whereas the way that they write it, I'm like, I would never say it like that. So I have the authority, which I didn't know when I first started, to be like, well, I'm going to swap that around. As long as the key points are in there, just make it sound more natural and not like a script.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that actually, because I've watched your show reel, so I've seen that in your I needed to do my research, didn't I? Seen that in Vera, obviously you're just talking in your natural accent. Have you ever had any non-theatre, like any on-screen roles where you were asked to do a different accent, or have you always just acted in your natural accent?
Let me think. Commercial. I did a commercial where I had to be American, which is weird because I'm just like, just get an American to do it. Like, I'm not gonna. Although my American friends were like, they thought I'd been dubbed, but we had a proper, really good dialect coach who literally, like, syllable per syllable was like, this is how you say this. That was really, really tough. But no, a good question actually. I was saying this the other day in terms of theatre versus TV. If you've done what I've done, if you started in theatre, I've pretty much been American all the time in theatre. Like the last play that I did, I wasn't American. And I did one musical called Hot Stuff, where I use my own accent, but that is it. I'm always from America, whether it's like South America or LA and Legally Blonde or whatever. Like, I'm just always American. So when I got on a TV set, I was kind of like, oh, that was one element that I felt was weird, just hearing my own. And that's nothing why I cringe watching myself back, because no one likes the sound of their own voice. But at least if I'm doing an accent, I can disassociate from it. But no, I don't think yet. TV, or screen. No, I don't think I have been asked to do my own accent, which I think is good, because then I can just focus on the acting and not the accent.
Yeah.
Whereas on stage, it all becomes very big, because you're then thinking, I've got to do that. I can't remember to say it in that accent, and then I got to remember to like make it big because it's on stage and whatever. But yeah, and I think you tend to get cast with your own accent a lot because it's so quick. And unless you're someone who can pull out an accent like from their back pocket, then you wouldn't be called upon to do it.
Yeah. So you got that part in Vera just with the self-tape. They didn't then call you in for a...
Oh no, they did. So I did the self-tape, and then they called us in. I think it was 5 of us.
Okay.
That had to do the face-to-face. But I found out overnight, and they gave me 4 long scenes to learn. And again, that's a test in itself, isn't it? Just to see where I can get them off book. But the trusty line learner app, that's all I did. I recorded them all. And I spent the whole evening just on loop with the script, making notes. And the next day went in, and I couldn't believe that I knew the scene so well. I was like, oh. And I didn't realize as well that I think 3 of the 4 were old Veras. I could have just cheated and watched them, but I didn't know.
Brilliant.
It's
a question of like muscle memory as well, isn't it? Where you're like, if you...
Yeah. Sorry, Phil, did you say something?
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, are you just audio learning? So in other words, are you using Line Learner app just to get it in through the ears? Are you writing it down as well in addition to that?
No, if it's a short script, it'll just be audio. If it's a long script, I'll have it in front of me while it's playing, because I'm quite visual in that respect. Like if I can see the lines, if it's a monologue, I have to see it. So mentally, when I'm kind of going through it, I know if I get lost, okay, that bit, it starts with "and" on the 4th line. So if I get lost, but generally just audio. Because as well, it's all my voice on the Line Learner app. And I know that, again, I've learned recently, there's a feature where you can lower the range of the pitch. So you can be like a bloke or a child. So you can differentiate between like the pitches and the voice sounds. But I don't do that. I just use my own voice. But then I don't know who I'm going to be working opposite if it's a guest actor. So I'm kind of like, and again, I'm a geek. I will learn the entire script. I'm that person. I've done that throughout my career. If someone drops the ball, I'm like, this is your line. And I can feed it to you. I'm so afraid of getting lost in a scene. And then we're both just going, because that's happened on stage and everyone's just literally doing nothing. Yeah. So yeah, I get familiar. I mean, I don't learn them, but I get familiar with the shape of the other person's lines or other people's lines, so that if we do get lost, because as well, especially in Vera, in the incident rooms, so we'll do all the incident room scenes in the final week of filming, but they're meant to represent 7 different days. So we're changing costumes and hair and whatever. So it's massive deja vu. You'll sit back in my chair and I'm like, okay, this is day 3. So we don't know, we haven't got a suspect yet, or we think it's this person now. And then someone will say a line from day 5 and I'm like, no, so it's just kind of knowing other people's lines in that scene so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, how do you deal with sort of the kind of emotional preparation before they roll? Like, do you have a certain technique, a certain way of getting yourself into the right kind of energy and mindset?
I missed the beginning of your question. There was a little beeping noise.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so do you have like a certain sort of, I guess, ritual in order to get yourself into the correct mindset and kind of emotional state before they say rolling?
For Vera, no, because I've done it for so long. But say I start back now for series 11 and we're doing something on location, if it's outside, one thing that I have to do is get Jack's walk. She's quite masculine presenting, and like quite heavy footed. So I have to practice her walk. So I always get on set and I do a few laps of her walk because it's not the same as my walk. And then I feel like if I get her walk, then it kind of informs how I then answer the phone and how I put my hands in my pockets and how I open the car door and things like that. But if I'm seated, not really. But then on the flip side, doing something like Doctors, where my storyline was to do with like child loss, absolutely had to kind of have a minute when they say rolling in action. Again, I'm used to just jumping in with Vera, but I gave myself the time to be like, no, I have to really get into this woman's frame of mind. Like, they're going to turn off the machines and she's right there. And I can't be hasty with that. I've got to really, like, you know, sit with it.
Kat, talk to us.
Hello. Hi, Ibinabo. Thank you for telling us your story and for talking to us today. It was really inspiring, actually. I had a question. So you mentioned that you had written down one day that you wanted to be in Color Purple and you wanted to be in Dreamgirls. And then you talked again about your goal to get on TV, your goal to be in a Bond movie. Do you have a sort of set, I guess my question's about the way that you goal set, and do you journal? Do you just have like ideas that you kind of keep present, or do you write them down and intend towards them? And what are your other goals?
Oh, okay, thank you. So, funnily enough, when I wrote down in my yearbook that I wanted to be in Dreamgirls and Color Purple, there were just two musicals that I knew of that were kind of black musicals that no one was doing. I remember for Showcase, I sang a song from The Color Purple, and the head of the course at the time, Paul Saby, had never heard of that musical. And I was like, what? Like, so, and this is what, 2009? So I sang I'm Here and I presented it to him and he was like, oh, this is great. Where's it from? So it's from The Color Purple. And he was like, oh, what's that? So then I had an illegal burnt copy that my friend got me. So then I had to be like, I'm really sorry, but this is the only version that I have of it. Then he bought it from iTunes, fell in love with it. But again, it was so far out of my reach. It was just kind of, it's like saying, oh yeah, I want to, I don't know, be the president. I mean, Donald Trump's done that, so, you know, dream big. But I mean, in terms of, like, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It's kind of like, oh, I want to marry Brad Pitt. It's just kind of, oh, I would love to be, if it ever, and I was thinking maybe on Broadway. I never ever thought in a million years that either of those shows would come to London, especially with Dreamgirls. And it's so funny, actually, the way that both those shows came to me, because it's on The Lion King in Paris. One woman who was playing Rafiki she'd covered Laurel in the second Broadway cast of Dreamgirls. So when she first met me, she was like, girl, she was like, you make a great Laurel. And I was like, who's Laurel? And she was like, from Dreamgirls. And I was like, I don't know what you're on about. Then she told me to go on Amazon to buy the score and the CD, which I did. This is like 2004. Bought them. So when I started Mountview in 2006, Ain't No Party, which is Laurel's big solo, I was trying to sing that in my singing lessons, and no one could play it, no one knew it. So they were kind of like, I don't know what this music is, I don't want to play it, and we're not familiar with it. So when I wrote it down in my yearbook, it was kind of like it was a dream. It was like literally like, oh, if I could do a dream role, it would be this. And then to answer your question further, I guess that is a kind of visualization, but I didn't know that it was. So when I left Dreamgirls, I was having like a massive depressive slump. I wasn't getting auditions. I'd made a decision to leave musical theatre, and I was like, have I made a massive mistake now because I'm not getting any auditions through, blah, blah, blah. I watched The Secret on YouTube, and my friends were telling me about visualization and journaling. So I've been journaling now for the past 3 years. I made a vision board for the first time. And on my first vision board, I didn't even think about this consciously. I got a TV screen that I printed off from an Argos website. Then I put my headshot on it. So that's me on TV, and then I've got a doctor's thing, like the doctor's logo. I've got an ITV logo. And I looked at it and I was like, get lost. And I read an old journal from like 2018. And I was saying, I really want to be in Doctors. Like, I want to be a semi-regular on it. And I read back it the other day and I was like, oh my God, like I did that. And I forgot that it was even a goal that I'd asked for. And at the moment, I don't know if you can see, up there is my vision board. And it says manifest on my little thing. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's great.
It says manifest. So yeah, I think you've got to speak things into existence. I think a lot of the time, and it sounds really wanky, and I'm hearing myself say it, and I sound like one of those people that's like, no guys, you really believe in yourself. But I actually do believe that. Like, there were so many obstacles in Mount View. I was one of only 3 people of color. There was nothing that was kind of set up for me. I didn't have a clue how to be Black on stage. Like, I was always reading like white roles, and no one kind of told me the challenges that I would face going into an all-white cast, being the only Black member of the cast, and tokenism and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Dreamgirls and Color Purple were like, they're 2 Black musicals that I was like, will never come to London in a million years. So weird. And then since, there's been little bits that I'm kind of like, oh God, yeah, I actually wrote down that I wanted to do that, and then I did it. That's weird. But my process, generally speaking, is, and this is a weird one, because I think you have to actually believe that you are worthy and that you deserve it, and then you have to put in the hard work. Because I think, when I mentioned before about luck and how I've got a funny relationship with it, outwardly people will say that I'm lucky, but they don't see all the graft that I've had to do to get to where I've got to. But there has been elements of luck, like me ringing up Pippa could have ended really bad. Like, she could have been like, no, it's unprofessional, how dare you, we've got allocated times, like slots. But you've got to shoot your shot sometimes. And I, as a teenager, was just so like tenacious, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I was kind of like, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more fearful now. I'm definitely more like, I don't want to like screw things up for myself. But there's still been times in my recent past that I've done stuff that's unconventional. Like, yeah, but I could do this. I could definitely do this.
So what's the plan to become a Bond girl? How are you going to do that?
I don't know. Well, I was quite good at stage combat at Mount View, but I've never used that in my professional career. I'm considering like doing like a martial arts course or something. But again, with this whole lockdown thing, is going to be pretty impossible to do that remotely. But I don't know.
Are you based?
Sorry, go on.
Whereabouts are you based now?
East London, Canning Town.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And it's a funny one, because obviously I should have been filming Vera right now, so I wouldn't have been able to get out and do stuff. And now I have the time, but there's nothing available. And then when I go up to Manchester to film this new like kids thing next month, that's going to then take me out for a month, and it's a completely different direction. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's that whole thing of, I guess it's, like I said, it's my job to prep and to put in all the work, so that if an opportunity does come, then it's like, yeah, I'm ready, I can do this. As opposed to, oh yeah, I mean, I could train, I could. So yeah, I mean, there's probably stuff I can, actually yesterday, funnily enough, on Instagram, I was scrolling through, and someone put a video like, if you get attacked, how to get out of it. Like, if you're held down with your arms up, and it was just like a little thing, and I thought, and I was really interested in that. So then maybe that was a little hint to get off my arse, and I can just watch stuff on YouTube, or just for the time being while I can't be doing it in person.
Do you think, I've got a question, sorry. Do you think most of your work comes from London now, rather than Manchester? You get most of your jobs in London? Yeah,
everything gets cast in London, but then gets filmed outside of London because it's cheap, which is annoying. My whole family's based in Manchester, so I would love to like relocate there permanently. But those kind of next day auditions are always in London.
Yeah, why? It has to change.
To be honest, I think it will change now. I mean, lockdown has shown us, I've booked a job from a self-tape. So I booked Hollyoaks 2 years ago from a self-tape. So it's doable. I think it's just more kind of, I guess some casting directors kind of want to meet people personally and get to know them as individuals. Whereas I was saying to Tom the other day that if you had already gotten into screen acting, if you were considering transitioning or getting into screen acting, if you did that before lockdown, you're at a massive advantage, because you're already known by certain, you know, people within that industry, where it's going to be a struggle now for people that are breaking into it, because you don't have the advantage of having to meet people face to face. So I've met all the TV people face to face. So now I can do a self-tape and they've already met me in the past, so they know who they're dealing with. So that's an advantage that I'm like definitely aware of. But self-tapes are the way forward. Like, they just are. They're cheap. They're obviously safer. And I feel a lot more in control. I don't know, and this is going to be a really weird thing, like when you do a take in person, you don't know how you look, you don't know how you come across. And for me, doing a self-tape, I can kind of see how I can see myself, so that when I'm on set, I'm like, okay, I know this is how I felt when I did it as a self-tape. Whereas if I go into the room, I'm like, you're all flustered and you're all, like, it's weird.
What do you use to do your self-tapes, Ibinabo? Have you got a system now, a self-tape system for yourself, where you know exactly where you're putting your iPhone, what lights you're using, how you're recording the sound? Are you a self-tape professional now?
I don't know about a professional. I did a 21-day self-tape challenge. I don't know if anyone's ever done it, the Manuel Puro one. 2018, I think it is. Yeah, 2 years ago. And before that, I mean, I'm embarrassed. My self-tapes would have been shit quality-wise, but I learned a lot about lighting and sound. I should get a microphone. I still don't have a microphone, but I live on my own. My flat's quite small. And if I close all the doors in my bedroom, it's completely soundproofed. So that's fine. But yeah, there's definitely a spot there's either the spot right near my front door or in my bedroom that I use. I've got a backdrop, like a pop-up backdrop that's blue on one side and grey on the other. I use a blue one for commercial and comedy stuff. The grey one is kind of like my neutral one for pretty much everything else. I've got two soft light boxes. I film on my iPad as opposed to my iPhone, because I use my phone if I've got to do the line learner, so to do the lines. Other people, use iMovie, but I prefer to have it live. I prefer to have something to act off, because I live on my own and I can't rely on somebody else. But absolutely, I can get a self-tape through at 6 p.m. and I can turn it around by 8 p.m. I've gotten really efficient now doing them. And I think a lot of the time it's just knowing where to put the light, where to position the camera, eye line, tripod, all that sort of stuff.
And
so then I can just focus on the acting.
And you're working off your partner, who's you, online learner, just feeding you the lines off camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions from anyone? If not, this would have been a point landing. Exactly past.
I just wanted to double check what the app was. You said Line Learner.
Yes.
Can you describe what that icon? It might be a bit awkward to do.
I'll show you it.
But, and I've got an Android phone, so it might be different.
Oh no, it's the same, because I know people. So it's, I think maybe you can see.
Love the case.
Yes, I've got it. Okay.
It's really, really good.
It's worth the $2.49.
I mean, it's my friend suggested it and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. And my friend now is like, he's in Coronation Street. He was the first Black family in Coronation Street. His name's Nathan. And we did Dreamgirls together and we made vision boards together and we both had ITV on it, and he's doing Corrie and I'm doing Vera now, which is mental. But yeah, it's amazing, and it's proper. It's a good way for me for pace, because I know how I talk. So one of the big things which I don't like when I go into a face-to-face is if the casting director will literally be like, blah, 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 saying the lines, and they don't commit to them, and they're also doing the camera, and they're looking at the script, and they're rustling in the paper. Whereas with this, you can give yourself the space, because it's you being the other person, so you can be generous as the other actor to give yourself the line.
There's also a thing called We Audition, which I haven't looked into yet, but it's a community where you can sign up, and then if you need somebody to read in for you via Skype, you can just like put out a call, and then somebody who's free right now can be like, yeah, I'll do it for you. So that's also a good alternative. If like, because I sometimes find it hard, exactly what you're saying, to like get the timings right. If it's like a script where you're having to cut yourself off or something, and you're like, so sometimes actually having somebody to read with is easier, and We Audition apparently is a great way for that. So
I've never heard of that. Thank you.
I just say about the line learner as well, you can put the app on your iPad, so you could do it the other way around. If you are wanting to film on your phone, you could get the app on your iPad and listen to the lines on the iPad.
Oh no, it's just because with my iPad, because of how my tripod is, I just have a bigger screen.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, if I use my iPhone, I'm like, shit, like I had something in my teeth and like I didn't see it because it was so small. Whereas with the iPad, it's just a lot bigger. I can crop. Yeah, I find that if I do things on my iPhone, I'm like, shit, I've got a bit of my backdrop in the corner. I just didn't see it. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all right.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Ibinabo. It's been super inspiring and yeah, really great. And I'm just going to remind everybody about the typical Daniel steps at the end of each call. Pay what you can, as usual, into Daniel's account. And we have Phil coming up this afternoon with his repetition class. £10 to participate, free to observe, 1.5 hours of repetition. Then tomorrow at 11 we've got Law Ballard coming in for a Meisner basic script analysis, and at 2 o'clock we've got Nick Redman coming in for a basic accent acquisition. She's amazing, so I would definitely recommend that one. And then on Friday at 11 I've got Emmeline Hardley, who's a brilliant actor, writer and producer, who's going to talk about producing your own short film. And at 2 o'clock on Friday, to finish off the week, we've got Tamsin doing another one of her keeping physically engaged and creative workshops, which are also so amazing. So I hope to see some, if not all of you, at some of those. And yeah, thank you so much, Ibinabo. Good luck with the Bond girl project.
It's not happen. I've said it now.
It will. We will see you on the big screen.
We'll all intend it for you.
Yay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Right, gonna stop the